This guy is nuts. Is he really making daily recordings of his possible divorce and releasing it as a podcast? They both cheated on each other. She's making six figures and still doesn't contribute to any joint endeavors financially. Why is she still with him? Why is he still with her? I can't wait for the next episode. This helped me be a better wife. So this is how men think. I hate my husband less now. I understand my wife more now. These are some of the listener comments to the Divorce Diaries podcast. All over the map, I know. These anonymous accounts of events should resonate with anyone that has been married, is married, or is preparing for marriage and helps couples avoid pitfalls as they might prepare for marriage. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
I am so upset, and I had to seek a little bit of counsel yesterday from some ex-family. I am furious, I will say, and I'm on my way right now to have my very first meeting with my divorce attorney. I don't know what to do. I don't know how we got here. That's a very convenient lie, isn't it, though? I know exactly why we're here. My wife and I are not good for each other. My wife and I have never been good for each other, and the fact that we have devolved to the place that we have probably shows our relationship, without blaming anyone more or less on one side or the other. It shows that we probably were in a relationship that we should have never been in to begin with. Now, I am at a crossroads now because I have been the parent that has not talked about the other parent behind their back in a slanderous way. I have had conversations about the other parent, but I haven't slandered the other parent. And when I say slandered, I'm saying telling part of a story, changing the story, leaving part of a story out that makes me look better. But my wife has. I knew that we were over, and why I'm headed to this meeting now and debating, and why I had to get counsel to see like how much should the gloves, quote unquote, come off. Like, I was talking to my ex sister-in-law, soon to be, and she told me that, why are you being so nice? And I'm like, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want the kids brought in the middle. And she's like, that's not how everyone else feels. That's not how your son is treating you. That's not how your wife is treating you. Why do you continue to let people hurt and kick you? And I am and have been and will continue to unpack that with my therapist. But it was a very interesting statement that she made to me that I really need to think long and hard about. I know that my wife does not mean me well or my children. So if I'm going to fully acknowledge, accept, and hold that truth, why am I continuing to protect her? I knew that our marriage was done for when I'm in my new apartment, not new, but I'm in my apartment, and my 8-year-old is asking me, hey, mom said you cheated 2 times or something when you were in high school, when you were 16 or something like that. And I'm shocked that I'm sitting here with my 8-year-old having a discussion about something that happened 12, 15, I don't really remember, years before she was even born. And I'm finding out that I'm having this conversation because my wife had a conversation with my much older daughter, and she took that and then told the younger one. And I'm like, wow, why would you do that? Why would you tell them that I had a girlfriend, which I did? And the whole story with that is my not then wife, but my girlfriend at the time, we broke up. We had been apart for a couple of months. I had another girlfriend, but I learned that my not then wife was pregnant with our first. Torn and confused or whatever, I decided to make a family and tell my ex that we were going to break up because I still love my not then wife, and we have a kid together, and I feel like I owe it to everyone to give this a try. I owe it to myself to have a family. I owe it to her to have a family. I owe it to our unborn child to have a family. It's just, there are just so many pros, in my personal opinion, to giving it a go that I wanted to try to do that. And that was the circumstances surrounding that. And the other young lady, she understood, and she's like, yeah, I get it. That makes sense. She was sad, and I wasn't super sad, but it was maybe because I knew, or at least I felt or decided to think that I was making a righteous choice, choosing a life for my family versus not. So my wife saying that really hurt me, but that's my own knowledge. But what I don't like is that she said that to our kids, or our kid that then repeated it to another kid, and they're now like kind of hating me because of that. And she left out the facts that she had a boyfriend when she and I first met. She left out the fact that while we were together, she started dating without breaking up with me, dating, seeing, being in a relationship with, I don't know, a guy that worked at a bowling alley that she frequented. This was before, like, cell phones were so prevalent and everything like that, probably showing my age. But she did that. When she was waitressing, she went on a date with a guy named Sean. This was before we got married as well, but we were very close to getting married. Well, not very close, because I believe our first was still in the car seat. So we were probably 2 years before we had gotten married. And that she had an affair while we were married. I'm so confused at why someone that has such a checkered past would highlight my checkered past while leaving out their own. Especially checkered pasts that, let's face it, don't concern anyone. They don't concern the kids. It was well before they were born. It was young kids trying to figure out life. Like, I don't really know what it was, but there's no upside to a child knowing certain things about their parents. And just hearkening back to what my soon-to-be ex-sister-in-law said, why are you being so nice to these people? They are not being nice to you. They are not being fair to you. They are not being nice to you. They are not being chivalrous or whatever. They're not being any of these things. Snap out of it. And now I'm sitting here staring at this lawyer's office, and I'm like, do I have to fully accept that my wife is the toxic narcissist that she is, that no matter what, she is so worried about how she's viewed that she erects these caricatures of herself? Because I've done this the opposite way. It has behooved me to probably lie to my kids and say, nope, I didn't do that, and paint my wife as the liar. But I can't do that because it's not how I'm wired. I just say, well, no. I did have another girlfriend, and that same person was the one affair that I had in our marriage. I went into that in a lot of my rant-laced tirades of immaturity before, when I basically, in a nutshell, talked about my wife putting the mortgage payments on a credit card with our first home. I was such a coward of a man, that I earned all the money, threw it in an account, and because we were so close to living ends meet, I'm talking $100 to $200 of disposable income every month, that I just threw it in the account and didn't want to watch it dwindle. So she was the administrator and she would pay all of the bills. I was the worker, and I just dumped all the money in the joint account. The joint account always had a decent balance, very low, but a decent balance. And after a little bit of trepidation, my wife came to me and told me that she had put maybe 4, 6, or 7 mortgage payments on credit cards. I then thought about the minimum payments required. We discussed that. The minimum payments were much higher than our disposable income would allow us to pay. Every month we would have had to make a choice to pay the credit cards or the mortgage. So in haste, I did another cowardly thing. I quickly sold our home because it was very far from work. I quickly sold that home. We made no money on it. And I took a hit and we went to stay with my mom with our 2 children. And that caused such a rift and bred a lot of resentment in me toward my wife. I'm not proud of that. I wish I had handled it better. I wish I had not tried to shrink away into my shell of privacy and cowardice. I wish we would have gotten some counseling, some help, some therapy to help us get over this and maybe someone could have helped put this into perspective about, should we live with my mom? Should we not? How healthy would that be for our marriage or not? Should we get a really cheap apartment and just kind of tough it out ourselves? Because we had the money to do that. Should we have just done that? What should we have done to sort of make ourselves whole and put us in the best position to succeed as a couple? But we didn't, and I didn't lead us. That was on me, and it still is. And that's just my wiring. I'll always choose to make it on me. But I blamed her so much and never forgave her for what she did financially and how it hurt us. And I looked at it in such a selfish way, like, you hurt me, and how could you betray me? And I don't know. I didn't even give any time to think about like how she must have felt. But because I could only see her lies and her deceit and her betrayal. You lied and you hid it. We could have fixed it had you not lied. Had you not hid it, we could have fixed it. That's how I looked at it. Very black and white in that way. And in that's what led to me reconnecting with someone that was closer in proximity. Moved very far away from that person, I guess. And I don't know, somehow I talked to an old friend that wasn't related to that person at all, but knew that person, and we ended up talking. And then I'm obviously in a very bad place. I'm resenting my wife. I'm looking at her like the villain, and I had all the justification I needed to engage in my indiscretion on our marriage. Didn't last long, but it lasted, and I just am so hurt that she told things about what happened with us, but left out the things that happened with her. I didn't want the kids to know any of this. None of it. But if you're going to say something, say it all. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. It's sort of how I looked at it. If you're going to start, finish. If this is what you're going to say, be thorough. Please. But instead, finding myself in 2021 with my 8-year-old asking me about how many affairs I had, not knowing that the person that shared this information has also had at least one affair that I know of. It's like my heart's ripped out, thrown on the ground, and I have to accept that my wife has somehow justified her bad behavior, which is why it continues to happen. I don't want to take the gloves off and start to just tell the truth fully, because I don't know where this will go. I don't know what these lawyers may do with these facts. I don't want her to be put out there, which is why I'm recording this podcast with a changed voice and I leave names out. I don't want to air my or her dirty laundry, but what if that is the healthiest thing to do? Whatever happens in the dark comes to the light. And fuck, I've been kicked in the nuts by being honest like this. This has not helped me. not talking to a few of my kids, but my wife, she's been talking a lot to them. Leaving things out, talking to therapists now. Leaving things out. There's no way our family will ever be helped. There's no way these individuals will ever be helped in the midst of all of these lies of omission.
Wow! That was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully, these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.